Hey everyone, so today or November 1st is All Saints Day. The first day of November, we always celebrate this great feast of all the saints. It's one of those big feasts of the year that is so important for us that we come to church. It's one of those days of obligation. And so, why do we celebrate this feast with such solemnity, with such celebration? Well, what is a saint? I think that's another another good question. Why we should ask ourselves, what is a saint, and what's an example of a saint, and why do we celebrate this day, and what does that have to do with me and the way that I live my life now? These are all good questions, I think. And so, first of all, what we classify in the Catholic Church as a saint are those men and women throughout history who have lived lives of holiness such that we believe that with all certainty that they are with God in heaven. So there's in more recent times in the church, which means like in the last hundreds of or so years, like 500 to 700 years, that's recent times in the church. There's actually a process by which we do the canonization of a saint, and that's like an investigative process that has to do with miracles attributed to the intercession of that saint, and that's another topic for another day. But there's actually a process that has scientific method employed with it for that. But saints are those who we really believe with all of our hearts are in heaven, but also they include anyone who is in heaven. So even if we don't know the names of all the saints, it's anyone's who is in heaven. So why celebrate a day like this? Well, because that's hopefully where we want to go one day, right? We want to go to heaven as well. So we want to be with the saints. To be a saint is to be in heaven. That's our ultimate goal. There's a lot of times that we say something like, "Well, I'm no saint," and and I'd say that of myself anyway today still, but I'm striving to be one. I don't use that as a cop out to say that I'm not called to be a saint. So, what's an example of a saint? Or, well, we have thousands of them over the centuries of our in our church's tradition. I'll give you just one. There's one that's close to my heart, and one that many of you probably know. Her name is Saint Therese of Lisieux. Celebrate her feast on October 1st. And Saint Therese is known for her little way that she promoted in her writing, that she couldn't do these great things like other saints could, but did small things with great love. So she lived in a convent and she served her sisters with great care. And in her diary, even like she would enumerate how some of the sisters could really get under her skin, but she would try her best even more than to love those other sisters, to go out of her way to be kind and generous to them. She lived this little way, and it's similar. It's a great example of what Jesus says in the gospel today, of that the blessed are the poor in spirit. Not poor in spirit as in they have no spiritual life, but their spirit, their own ego, their pride is so small, is poor, is in that way, so that God is able to work through them. That's the beginning of being a saint, realizing that I don't have the power to change other people, but all I can do is ask for God's power to work within me and in my life. So, what do saints have to do with us today? A lot of times we're kind of knocked in the church from our Protestant brothers and sisters as we pray to saints. And that's actually not totally untrue, but we don't pray as if we worship them. No, we pray for their intercession before God in heaven. There's so many saints in the world, and there's so many ones that have different their intercession we can attribute for this or that. There's patron saints of, for instance, sports, or patron saints. There's even a patron saint for the internet now. That we can pray to those saints, especially for their intercession, because we believe that they're with God in heaven. So why not pray for their intercession? I think of it like someone who's got an office right next to the boss. I might ask that person when the boss walks by one of the million times during the day. This isn't a perfect metaphor, so don't, that's not all true, but that they might intercede for whatever my need is. Hey, Michael needs this, and you're right there. You're right next to the throne of heaven. So why not ask for help from someone who's right there, from someone who can really identify with your struggle or your difficulties in life? Saints are there so that we can have heroes in the faith that show us what it looks like to be holy, but also those who can pray on our behalf in heaven before the throne of grace. So today is a great day to pray or to celebrate all of the saints, all of those men and women who show us that it is possible to live lives of holiness here on earth. We're called not to live a life of holiness tomorrow, but today. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but we should be striving for holiness, for sainthood. My friends, look to the saints today and every day. Ask for their intercession and ask that God might one day let you live with the saints in heaven.